Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in this great world we live in. My name is Jack Branch. I am located in Covington, Louisiana, and I'm in the financial business. And my motto is, if you want to work your whole life, that's your business. If not, that's my business. And I'm really excited today to, kind of dispel some myths that are out there. I think my generation, being in my later 40s, even 50s, and even the folks, the baby boomers in the 60s and beyond, all kind of have a different myth about what they quote unquote believe as it relates to, just certain, teachings about, the generation behind. We all tend to think that our generation is the cat's meow and, the ones behind us really don't have it together. And there's probably not been another generation, more misunderstood than the millennial generation. And it was a couple weeks ago where I had someone, this lady that today we're going to talk through real estate, because real estate is such an important topic, and it's one that a lot of folks want to get involved in, and there's obviously a lot of things to learn about it. But I was really impressed with the way this young lady had reached out, saw the show, saw the content I was putting out, and had a desire to really give and give information. And her name is Courtney Fricke. She is from Slidell, Louisiana, and I am excited really to have you meet Courtney today. How's it going, girl?
It's going all right over here in Slidell, just to happen to skip away from you.
Yes, indeed. And, so tell me a little bit about how you got involved in real estate and a little bit about your background, if you would.
Sure. So yeah, I am. I'm only 28 years old, but about a decade ago, when I was graduating high school, I made an unpopular decision then to forego going to college. More people are considering that today than back then. Even as an academically strong student, it was a tough decision to make back then. But so I decided, instead of going to college, I went and worked with a nonprofit for 3 years in Texas. And then from there, through those contacts, I eventually went and lived overseas and worked for a year. And so I forewent college, and here I am, getting a hands-on life experience in different places. And when I moved back in the country, Christmas of 2013, it was around the middle of 2014, I had started working at a local marina. I was hired as the property manager, as the harbor master in Slidell. So I managed about 100 boat slips, and it was an interesting job. I mean, it was definitely a job with an office view. I mean, it was gorgeous. But with it is, during that time, I had just moved back in the country, and waiting for my stuff to get shipped back, and I'm starting to thinking forward of, what am I going to do, career-wise? How am I going to establish myself, wanting to start establishing some roots back home, having been gone for 4 years. And while I was at that job, I got to see a lot of things. And so while I'm contemplating those big decisions, what did I want it to do career-wise, and kind of thinking about mapping out my life at that point, here I am at the marina, and I'm seeing a little bit of a few different people come across my path. At marinas, you can go and see a lot of different types of boats, the ones you want, the ones you don't want. And so, I saw the marina used for a few different ways. I managed it for 4 years, and I did see some people who it was like a subsidized rent, where they were living in it because it was cheaper than an apartment or something. You had some people who they were working hard, and they got that, that status of, hey, I've got these toys now, but they were never using them. they couldn't really afford them. And then you had the ones who really, piqued my interest because they were retiring early, traveling the world, living on their boat, getting ready to go and, make a loop around, the islands or whatnot. And so these were the people who, when they'd come into my office and I'd start to, find out, what they were doing, I would pick their brain. I was like, look, I obviously was trying to make some life decisions then. And so I just kept asking them, do you mind I ask how did you do this? And a common factor was real estate, that they had invested in real estate. And so, that was just one of the major things that started to, get me interested in investing in real estate. And so here I am a few years later, and it has changed my life. So I love talking about it. I'm passionate about it, because real estate has the ability to really create wealth, as an investment, and when it's done correctly. And so that's kind of a little bit of where I've been, and
wow.
kind of a little bit of
you
where.
saw it with your own eyes then, I guess, the ones that had the stuff just because
Right.
they had to have it and living on it, and then the other ones that got to really enjoy it. And I think that's the whole point of the show is, there's a lot of people going through different valleys in life, and how is it that you get through the valleys? Because everything isn't perfect, but ultimately once you start to climb and experience some good things where you're getting in good rhythms and such, how do you really get to enjoy and utilize your wealth in a way that not
Sure.
only touches yourself, but touches others? And I think it's awesome because so often, many people will look at the millennial generation as a lazy generation, one that just sits back and waits for things to happen. But that's the least thing I've seen you do. So what's really inspired you really from a work ethic standpoint to really not sit there and wait for things to happen, but really make things happen, I guess?
Well, my father's probably been one of my biggest influences, my father and my mother, where, my father, he has, I always say that he doesn't have a lazy ounce or bone in his body, because this is a guy who'll work, 16-hour days and not blink. But with it is, so I've learned from him, and then my mother, as far as where she has grown in her career. Really that if you want something, there's really nothing stopping you except you to go get it. And so with my father, he always used to say, three things, the 3 L's: look, listen, and learn. And I mean, he almost says it repeatedly now to the point where we're always like, Dad, stop, but it's to the point where he's always encouraged me to where it's like, to work hard, to be the hardest worker in the room. But also to look, listen, and learn in the sense of how you can, level up, how you can observe things and go from there as far as to educate yourself so that you can work smarter, not just harder.
Wow, that's good. That's really good, because so often people don't have good role models or good parental guidance. And
right.
God bless your mother and father, because it sounds like you have been brought up in a healthy home and relationship, and encouraging. But what do you think's the most common reason folks fail or give up in real estate that you run across? I mean, I know you've only just been doing it a few years, and there's probably been some times where you failed, obviously, and wanted to give up. But what do you see as kind of the, is it unrealistic expectations that they think they're just going to get rich overnight, or it's liquidity? I mean, what do you see is the reason most people fail or give up in real estate?
I do think it is a level of, they think it's a get rich quick thing. I've actually had people call me and they, hey, I'm thinking about getting invested in real estate, starting to invest in real estate, calling me for questions, whatever. And usually one of the first ones is, so do you think that that this would, bring in a lot of money really quickly for me? And typically when those people, I almost say, hey, look, let me give you some information. Let me, let's talk some, but almost like call me in 6 months. Let's see if you're still interested type thing, and a lot of it is people are not, they're not, consistent. It's a patience thing. And so I would say that also, I mean, as far as liquidity goes, I mean, yes, capital is a factor, but there's so much out there. Is I didn't start with a lot. There's ways that you can get involved in real estate, and you can figure out the money part. I think the biggest part is probably the patience. They're thinking that this is a short-term solution for them rather than a long-term wealth building solution. And so they're thinking, hey, I'm gonna get rich quick. There's tons of gurus online who are, pitching them, you'll get a Lamborghini within, a month, and, you'll be rolling in the Benjamins or something. But, so there's all that, especially now with social media being, pitched to people about real estate. People are consistently dropping, 10, 15, 20, 30, $50,000 on a real estate investing course, and they're not really having much to show for it when they walk away. So there's so much education online, but a lot of people, they don't want to put in the time and the effort to understand that it does take, some effort. It's not the hardest thing in the world. If I can do it, anyone else can do it.
It's really good.
But yeah.
I heard you say a lot in that. I mean, that's a lot to unpack. But one of the things
Sure.
I heard you say was, that posing, if you will. It's hard work. Anything's hard work. And, money's
Right.
never the issue, really. Capital will arrive if you have the greatest
Right.
value proposition. If you find a stellar deal out there, I mean, money will come to fruition. It
Absolutely.
always
Comes out the
does.
woodworks.
Money's
Yeah.
never the issue. So, I know when we had spoke initially, you'd said one of the frustrating things that you experienced in a lot of these real estate investors associations, not all, but many of them, was the fact that you would have people coming to those events, if you will, and it just seemed like a pitch fest, or their whole
Right.
motive for having these was really to get you in a class to open your wallet, and they had the magical secrets and things such as that. So tell me
Sure.
more about, with this Northshore Real Estate Investors Association, what you wanted to do different than what kind of
Right.
the standard association was doing.
Sure. Like I said, between social media, between even meetup groups and whatnot, there is just a ton of people who want to sell you a course. Do I think all courses are bad? No, I just bought one a few weeks ago to enhance my business, but that was after about a year of researching it and making sure they were legit. But yeah, I'd go to meetups with real estate investors, and I'd be sitting and I'd ask questions to the speaker, and he'd say, well, I can't answer that. You gotta buy a ticket to Saturday's event, and I'll answer that then. I'm like, well, what's the point of me being here tonight, paying to come tonight, And so with it is, I'd find a lot of that. I find that there are people who are, teaching courses, and they're not actively doing investing in real estate. And so they're not, currently updated with stuff like that. And so when I saw that, it really, it disappointed me in a way, because at the end of the day, it is, I was going to events to learn and network, but really I'd really only kind of be getting some networking out of it, and I'd get frustrating on the learning side. And so when I started the Northshore Real Estate Investors Association May of this year, that was really because of two factors. One, I was tired of going to events where they were constantly pitching and trying to sell me something. And the other part was that, the Northshore deserved a meetup like this. I didn't have to go travel to Baton Rouge or to New Orleans or to the Gulf Coast to attend one. The Northshore was a viable enough market that it could support a meetup like this. And so yeah, I started back in May, and we range anywhere from 20 to 50 people at our main meetings, that happen once a month. And the goal is when I bring in people to speak, the goal is to really filter out the ones who are wanting to pitch their courses. I'm bringing in a lot of local professionals, or even the local people who are actively investing in real estate, or who have been for a long time in our area, come in and share some wisdom. So yeah, it's kind of, I have a lot of representatives of gurus, I guess you could say, or the traveling salesmen who throw fits in my inbox, who are trying to come speak at my event, and they're like, well, I'm disappointed you don't want to let us come. I'm like, okay, but all you want to do is pitch your course. That's,
That's kind of,
and
it's
they,
kind of, I mean,
yeah,
people have gotten kind of in sync, I guess, if you will, based on the old school hard pressure selling techniques. I mean, I think today's consumer more than ever
right.
is very, how would you say it, chafed somewhat from all the goofiness that's out there. I mean, I just had it this morning, guy in Slidell asking me to buy my car, and I mean, when he offered me, I told him, I said, I'll drive it over if it's reasonable, just the typical salesy stuff. On a
Sure.
scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
Um, I would think, are you saying 10 being like crazy weird and 1 being like opposite of weird?
Yeah.
I'd probably say I'm like about a 7 in the sense of, it's funny, but there's times where, I'm with family and they're like, you got to turn the business off, Courtney,
Yeah.
because I'm, talking about business, whatnot. And for me, it's because it's become, there's parts of me who's like, hey, I'm a business owner now. I left my employer last year. So it's like, I've become, obsessed as far as wanting to build a business to be proud of. Right. And so I find a way, there's sometimes I'm weird in that sense. Also, hell, I lived overseas for a year by myself in a third world country. I've traveled, to multiple countries by myself or with groups. And I think it takes a special type person to do stuff like that. And I've got a lot of weird, experiences of things that I agreed to do overseas.
Good. No, I mean, I think plain vanilla gets boring.
Oh, look, it does. Got to
And
spice life
if
up.
you look at some of the most successful people, they're definitely outliers in the data set. So what are
Oh,
you
yeah.
not very good at? Or what are your blind spots that you see as a young millennial that's
Yeah.
actively investing in real estate, trying to help educate others in it? What do you think your blind spots are early on?
Delegating, I would say, is one. I know I really, for 2019, want to get away from being that self-employed person who's the only way to do more is to work more versus I want to start kind of building some systems so that I can, take a step back some, but it can still be growing. The other one is, I'm a big proof of concept person. And so I'll bootstrap stuff, be frugal, bootstrap a concept just to understand if it works.
Yeah.
So I'm hesitant to put the necessary funds into something, because, I may have the adequate, I may have a lot of time or hustle, but I don't have all the money in the world when it comes to things. So a lot of times I'll hold that close to my chest when it comes to, doing different things. And so a lot of times taking that next step to really go to the next level, I find that, I've got to do that. So I've been learning on that. The other thing is really changing my mindset about money. Specifically debt has been a challenge for me.
And so tell me more about that. I'd like to go there. So debt,
Sure.
you've been taught, probably from your dad and mom all these years, and we still got bombarded with it, that it's always bad and you're having to adapt to, it could be good to use in the right way. Is that what I'm hearing you say, or?
Well, I mean, when I was in high school, I took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. So, 12, 15 years ago, I took that, and it's really shaped a lot of my life. I've always budgeted. I've always, cash has been king. It wasn't until I moved back into the country just a few years ago that I actually got a credit card, started establishing credit. Because with it is, there was this mindset that, who cares about credit? You want no debt, until I came back. I had no debt, no credit, but, I wasn't going to go buy a house with cash. I mean, the types of house that I was thinking of. And so it came to a point where I had to eventually change my mind about, good debt, and to understand that that leverage is a good word. Especially when it comes to business and good debt.
Well, you think about it. I mean, the major corporations in this country use it. I mean, whether it's Google or Amazon,
Right.
if they're building a new facility, they could use their
Right.
money, but they would rather use other people's money, and that's kind of
Exactly.
the whole attractiveness, if you will, of real estate is
Right.
OPM, that acronym.
Correct.
Other
Other
people's
people's
money,
money.
you know?
Yep.
And it's really, if you think of most financial institutions, they know how to turn money over and over and over. Yet we put it
Right.
into one thing, one purpose, compartmentalized. And you said something earlier, as you know, we were talking about sometimes it's hard to shut it off, you know, and so often we think ourselves more as a human doer versus a human being. And the
Right.
fact that you're becoming who you are and you're, you know, excited about real estate, you're excited about this venture. I mean, it's
Right.
hard to just turn that off and fake it. You
Sure.
know, I know a lot of
Right.
people say the same thing about me. They're like, how could you be getting into, you know, other instances like health coaching? If you love financial, it's because I've had a major change in my life and I want to tell other
Right.
people about it. I just can't shut up. You
Yeah.
know, if you can see how free you've become, you know, you can't
Right.
just keep it a secret, whether it's your faith, whether it's, you know, whatever the case might be. And so I'm encouraged by you. And what I want all of you, folks out there to pay attention to is, you know, on this group, that she's created on Facebook, which is the Northshore Real Estate, Investors Association, which you should be able to see here. Definitely go and like this and follow it. They meet Tuesdays at 6:30 at the Country Inn and Suites right now, which is in Slidell, Louisiana, for you locals. And if you really want to get yourself in a position where you start to, you know, really want to get investing in real estate, it'd be a great place to get involved, ask questions. I mean, I constantly am getting clients coming in saying, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources. And sometimes there may be other ways that you could go about doing, you know, these networking with
Right.
other people where you can use not only other people's money, but other people's skills and knowledge.
Right.
And tell me what that kind of looks like on a weekly basis. So the folks that are watching this show that are going to go and check
Right.
it out, or at least like the Facebook page, what they can expect to see when they come.
Sure. So the North Shore Real Estate Investors Association, we call it North Shore RIA for short. That we meet once a month. So the second Tuesday of every month. Right now we're meeting at the Country Inn and Suite in Slidell off of Gauze, in their conference room. So when you say, if you were to come to the event on December 11th, we've got two local, investors who've been investing for, 20 to 30 years themselves. They're coming to come speak. So they're the speakers for this month. And they are, we're calling that one Learning from the Legends. And they're going to come and share. They're not going to come and say, hey, this is how much money I've made in real estate. Because that doesn't help me. That may say, okay, that's possible, but that doesn't really help me to take action steps, right? So they're going to come and share like maybe about one of their worst deals and how they learned from it or whatnot. So we're going to have different speakers who come each month. The meetings are not a sit down, shut up and listen type meeting. They're very interactive. We have a time where definitely bring business cards if you have them. Cause we welcome new and experienced investors as well as anyone who, provides services to the real estate industry. And you can expect to really, be able to connect with people. The whole premise of it is to be able to network and to learn without the pressure of having to buy something or to be pitched. The whole goal is to be able to, kind of help facilitate an education that is coupled with some instruction. So again, I'm not just trying to get people to sit down, shut up and listen, So we are doing that, once a month. This month we're starting our first small group meeting. The goal is for 2019 is to do a few small group meetings for the people, one to assist with people who can't make it on the second Tuesday of the month when we meet, or who can't make it to Slidell. I was just meeting in Hammond yesterday with with a local, real estate industry professional who's wanting to do a meetup in Hammond. And so we're helping host some events in different areas. Maybe one in Mandeville is going to pop up in 2019. And the goal is to help. I've actually had a few people from the real estate group. I've done real estate investing deals with them this year. I have some contracts on my desk right now of other ones that I'm doing deals with right now. So it's not just I really enjoy the fact that people are connecting, and there's a chance for people to really, people do business with people they trust. And so it's an opportunity just to meet people and see if you got similar interest,
That's good. I'm encouraged. I hope you all are, because I know several times there's a lot of bad press, a lot of things in the media and such that can keep people thinking that the younger generation doesn't have hope. I have an immense amount of hope after meeting you, Courtney, and interviewing you,
Thank you. Yeah.
and even though you're early on in your career, and obviously you'll make some mistakes. However, just think of how far you are ahead of most others, and I
Right.
encourage you folks, if you are want to get invested in real estate, you definitely need to educate yourself. You need
Mhm.
to attend these meetings like she throws, on a monthly basis to gather knowledge. It's really about
Right.
knowledge, because a confused mind does nothing. And so often we
Right.
get all this information and we can Google it and do the research. But at the
Right.
end of the day, how do you take that and then put that into action? And that's the value of
Right.
networking and strategic alliances and so forth and so on, whether it's with lenders, whether it's with closing people, or whether it's other
Right.
investors in the marketplace. And I know they're
Right.
doing some other things outside of the normal, let me put 20% down. I mean, they're dealing with tax sales, they're dealing with sheriff sales, they're dealing with bond for deed, probably a lot of
Right.
creative things that you need to become aware of. And
Right.
Courtney, I'm just thankful that we had a chance today. It's
Sure.
to really find out more about you and the Northshore Real Estate Investors Association. And
Right.
as we finish, what's one thing that you'd like to have folks really remember about you? And please share this, people, as you see it, because others will put their eyeballs on it. What's one thing that you could leave us on as it relates to real estate that gives you a tremendous amount of hope for the future?
Um, so with it is a lot of people think of the first thing that just comes to mind. This may not be the most profound, but it's something that comes to mind, and I've actually shared it often. Is a lot of people think investing in real estate is a gamble, that it's risky. But I like to think of it as walking into a room with no lights on. And so the more that you educate yourself, whether it's through networking, finding a local person who is experienced, who can help maybe mentor you or be a soundboard for you, whether it's reading books, whatever it may be. That's like turning on a lamp or turning on a hall light or whatever. So you're not stubbing your toe or hitting your knee on the couch. It's providing that education is providing information and confidence, so you're not walking in a dark room stumbling along the way. And so I find that that helps bring confidence, that education, so that you're not just blindly throwing your money into a big investment. So when it comes to that, at the end of the day, anyone can invest in real estate. At the end of the day, anyone's life can be changed by investing. And it starts with having getting in a place where you want to have a healthy mindset about money, and a healthy mindset about what it can do for you. It's not a get rich, quick scheme. And it's not an overnight thing, but if you let it change your mindset, just in general, it's something that can be a long-term benefit to you, and like it's changed my life. And so I'm no expert. The goal has just been to help facilitate bringing in some of the local experts, right? And that's
I think you're farther along than you think. So
well, thank you. But I
yeah.
appreciate you having me on, though, and I've enjoyed getting to know you and seeing what you're doing here.
Well, I appreciate you. And again, folks, definitely tune in every Tuesday and Thursday where we're going to talk to entrepreneurs around the topics of health and wealth, and really having a healthy look at what health and wealth looks like. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of people I run across in my financial business that have a lot of money, but if they're on their deathbed and can't even enjoy it, what's the point? And then there's a lot of people that are just, on the other side of the aisle. So it's really putting yourself in a position where you're stewarding over both of those things in the most effective way you can. And definitely check out the Northshore Real Estate Investors Association and attend if you can. I think it would be something worth going to. I'm definitely going to be attending and checking it out, because I always am having clients ask me, how do I get involved? How do I get more information? And
Right.
this is a great piece to get involved. So I hope you guys have an awesome day, and definitely connect with Courtney on social media, and connect with myself as well. And you guys have an awesome day out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a great one.